Marcus Chin wiped the grease from his hands and stared at the derelict ship floating in his repair dock. The vessel was unlike anything he had seen in his 20 years working the Outer Rim asteroid belt. Its hull was smooth, almost organic, with symbols that predated modern star charts by centuries. "Another ghost ship," Marcus muttered, grabbing his toolkit. "Probably full of broken reactors and space rats." The airlock hissed open, revealing corridors lined with a strange crystalline material that still pulsed with faint light. Marcus's scanner went crazy, showing energy readings that made no sense. The power core should have been dead after drifting for who knows how long, yet something deep inside the ship was still active. He followed the energy's signature through winding passages that seemed to shift in the dim light. The walls were covered in the same strange symbols, and Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that they were warnings. His boots echoed on the metal floor as he descended deeper into the cargo hold. The chamber he found took his breath away. It was massive, easily 3 stories tall, and at its center was something that shouldn't exist. Chained to a towering power core was a creature from ancient Earth mythology, a dragon. Marcus froze, his mind refusing to accept what his eyes were seeing. The beast was enormous, at least 40 feet from snout to tail, with scales that shimmered between deep blue and silver even in the darkness. Thick chains made of an unknown metal wrapped around its body, neck, and wings, connecting directly to the ship's power systems. The chains pulsed with a sickly green light, and Marcus could see energy flowing from the creature into the ship's core. "No way," he whispered. "Dragons aren't real. They're just stories." But the creature's chest rose and fell slowly, proving it was very much alive. Barely alive, Marcus realized. The dragon looked ancient and exhausted, its scales dulled by what must have been centuries of captivity. Scorch marks and scars covered its body, evidence of failed escape attempts. Marcus approached cautiously, his engineer's mind already working on the problem. The chains weren't just restraints. They were designed to drain the dragon's life force, converting its very essence into power. It was the most cruel and efficient battery system he had ever seen. A control panel near the power core caught his attention. Marcus accessed the ship's logs, finding fragmented entries in an old Valorian dialect. His translation software struggled with the archaic language, but the meaning became clear enough. The Valorians had discovered Earth thousands of years ago, long before humans had developed space travel. They had found dragons there, creatures of immense power, and had stolen one as a prize. "They've been using you as a slave," Marcus said softly, looking at the chained creature. "For thousands of years." The dragon's eyes suddenly opened, and Marcus stumbled backward. Those eyes were gold, burning with an intelligence that made him feel small and exposed. They locked onto him with an intensity that went beyond mere animal awareness. This was a thinking, feeling being. Then, impossibly, a voice spoke directly into his mind. It was ancient, tired, but filled with desperate hope. "Human," Marcus gasped, pressing his hands to his head. The telepathic connection felt like a gentle pressure behind his eyes. "You are human," the voice continued, each word carrying weight and emotion. "I can sense it in your genetic pattern, in the way your mind works. You're the first of your kind I have seen in 3,000 years. You can talk," Marcus managed to say. "You're intelligent. More intelligent than those who chained me," the dragon replied. "They feared what I knew. Well, I tried to tell your ancestors." Marcus looked at the chains, then at the control panel. Every instinct told him this was dangerous. Dragons were myths, and myths existed for a reason. This creature could kill him the moment it was free. It could destroy his station, his home, everything. But those eyes held no malice, only pain, exhaustion, and a strange kind of respect as they studied him. "Human," the dragon said again, and now Marcus heard the plea in that ancient voice. "Free me, and I will show you why the galaxy fears your species. Free me, and I will tell you the truth they have hidden from humanity for millennia. Free me, and together we will shake the foundations of every empire that thought they could control the uncontrollable." Marcus stared at the chains, his hand hovering over the control panel. He knew his life was about to change forever. The question was whether he had the courage to take that first step into the unknown. Marcus spent 3 hours examining the chains that bound the dragon. Every time he thought he found a release mechanism, he discovered another trap. The Valorians had designed this prison with cruel brilliance. If he simply cut the chains, both he and the dragon would be vaporized by a feedback explosion. If he disabled the power core, the emergency systems would flood the chamber with radiation. They really didn't want you getting out, Marcus said, wiping sweat from his forehead. They feared me. The dragon's voice echoed in his mind. But more than that, they feared what I would tell your kind. Marcus pulled up a holographic display of the ship's power systems. What's your name anyway? If we're going to die together trying this, I should at least know who you are. I am a sheriff, last of the Sky Guard. Even in his mind, her voice carried a weight of ancient dignity. And you are Marcus Chun, mechanic, station operator, and apparently dragon liberator. He laughed nervously. This is insane. A week ago, my biggest problem was a faulty coolant system. Tell me, Marcus Chun, why do you wish to free me? You know the risk. You know I could destroy you the moment these chains fall away. Marcus was quiet for a moment, studying the energy patterns. Because keeping something chained up like this is wrong. I don't care if you're a dragon, an alien, or a really weird space whale. Nobody deserves this. He felt something like warmth in his mind. Approval, maybe even surprise. That answer, Ashira said softly, is why your species terrifies a galaxy. Over the next 2 days, Marcus worked almost without sleep. He brought equipment from his station, jerry-rigging solutions that made him wince even as he implemented them. The Valorian technology was sophisticated, but relied on predictable logic. Marcus's approach was anything but predictable. He used electromagnetic pulses timed to the ship's power fluctuations. He created feedback loops that confused the safety systems. He even reprogrammed maintenance drones to act as circuit breakers at crucial moments. It was messy, dangerous, and violated every safety protocol he knew. Your methods are chaotic, Ashira observed, watching through half-closed eyes. Yet effective. Is this common among humans? We call it improvisation, Marcus said, connecting another makeshift device. When you don't have the right tools, you make do with what you've got. During the long hours, Ashira shared fragments of memory through their growing telepathic connection. Marcus saw flashes of ancient Earth, of dragons flying through skies that looked nothing like the polluted atmosphere of modern times. He saw humans, as they were 50,000 years ago, primitive but already showing signs of the stubborn creativity that defined them. We made a pact with your ancestors, Ashira explained. We would watch over your sanctuary world. And in return, we asked only that you remember us in your stories. But the Valorians came. They saw what we saw in humanity, and they were afraid. Afraid of us? Marcus asked, adjusting a power coupling. We're not exactly the strongest or smartest species out there. No, but you have something far more dangerous. You have no limits to what you can become. On the 3rd day, Marcus was ready. His hands shook as he initialized the final sequence. If he had made even one mistake in his calculations, the explosion would destroy his entire station. Last chance to back out, Ashira said, and Marcus sensed she was giving him an escape. Not a chance, he replied, and activated the sequence. The chamber filled with light and noise. Sparks flew from the chains as Marcus's electromagnetic pulses hit them in precise rhythm. The power core screamed, fluctuating wildly between the feedback loops he had created. Warning alarms blared throughout the ship. One by one, the chains shattered. Each breaking link released a pulse of energy that made the air shimmer. Ashirita's body convulsed as the flow of her life force suddenly reversed, flooding back into her instead of being drained away. The final chain broke with a sound like thunder, and Marcus collapsed from exhaustion. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was Ashirith rising to her full height, her scales beginning to glow with inner fire. He woke to find himself cradled in one of Ashirita's claws, surprisingly gentle for something so large. But there was no time for relief. Alarms were screaming from his station systems. "We have company," Ashira said, and Marcus heard the rumble of anger in her voice. Valorian security forces. They detected the power core's failure. Through the ship's viewports, Marcus saw 3 warships approaching his station. They were already charging weapons. "Can you fight?" he asked weakly. Ashirtha's eyes blazed with golden fire. "Watch me." The Valorian warships never stood a chance. Ashirth erupted from the derelict vessel like a comet, her body surrounded by plasma fire. Marcus watched in awe from his station's command center as the dragon moved through space as easily as through air. She breathed streams of superheated energy that melted through shields like paper. Her wings, somehow functional in the vacuum, created gravitational distortions that sent missiles spinning off course. Within minutes, 2 warships were crippled and retreating. The third had already fled at maximum speed. When Ashirth returned to the station, Marcus noticed something different about her. Her scales gleamed with vibrant color, shifting between blues, silvers, and hints of gold. Her eyes were bright and alert. She looked healthy, powerful, alive. "We need to leave," she said as she landed in his docking bay, somehow managing to fit her massive form inside. "They will send more, many more." Marcus quickly gathered supplies and powered up his small repair ship, the Rusty Nail. It was barely large enough for cargo runs, let alone running from an interstellar conspiracy. But it was all he had. "Can you travel in space?" he asked. "Like without a ship?" "I am a dragon," Ashirth replied with what might have been amusement. "Space is just another sky to me." They fled into the nearest nebula, a vast cloud of gas and dust that would hide them from sensors. The Rusty Nail settled into a slow drift, while Ashirth coiled around the hull like a protective shield, absorbing cosmic radiation that would have damaged the ship. "Now," Marcus said, once they were safely hidden, "you mentioned something about the truth, about why the galaxy fears humanity. I think it's time you explained." Ashirtha's presence filled his mind, and with it came a flood of memories and knowledge. Marcus saw the galaxy as it was 50,000 years ago, young and full of emerging species. He saw dragons exploring the stars long, before most civilizations had discovered fire. "We were the first," Ashirth began. "The first to travel between stars, the first to map the galaxy. And we encountered thousands of species in their early development. Each had their gifts. The Valorians had their crystals that stored energy. The Crother had their natural armor. The Selendi could manipulate gravity with their minds. And humans?" Marcus asked. "Humans had nothing." Ashirtha's voice carried a strange mix of sadness and pride. "No claws, no natural weapons, no psychic abilities. Your bodies were weak. Your senses were limited. By every measure, humans should have remained primitive hunters on a single world." Marcus felt a sting of defensiveness. "Thanks for the vote of confidence. But we watched you anyway," Ashirth continued, "and we saw something that terrified us. Humans adapted, not through evolution, but through thought. You created tools. You learned languages. You built civilizations. And most importantly, you never accepted your limitations. Every obstacle you faced, you found a way around it. The memories showed humans spreading across Earth, surviving ice ages, crossing oceans, reaching into space. Each generation built on the last, never satisfied, always reaching for more. The dragon elders debated for decades, Ashirth said. Some wanted to uplift you, to share our technology. Others wanted to leave you alone. In the end, we made a pact. We would never interfere with humanity. We would only watch and hope that when you reach the stars, you would choose to be wise rather than destructive. But we did reach the stars, Marcus said, and something went wrong. The other species panicked. Ashirtha's voice grew dark. When humans began their first colonies, the Galactic Concordat formed in secret. They saw what we saw, but unlike us, they chose fear over hope. They began manipulating your expansion, creating conflicts to keep you divided. They sabotaged colony ships. They hid valuable resources from your scouts. They made sure humanity stayed weak and scattered. Marcus felt anger rising in his chest. They've been holding us back on purpose? For 3,000 years, Ashirth confirmed. I tried to warn your early colonists. I tried to tell them the truth. That's when they captured me and used my own life force to power their ships. A message to any other dragon who thought to help humanity. But why go to such lengths? We're just one species among thousands. Ashiritha's eyes met his through the viewport. Because every other species has a ceiling to their potential, Marcus. They reach a certain level and stop growing. But humans? You have no ceiling. Give humans 1,000 years, and you'll surpass civilizations that have existed for 1,000,000. Give you 10,000 years, and you'll reshape the galaxy itself. That's not arrogant speaking. That's simple observation. Marcus sat in silence, processing everything. His entire life, he had thought humanity was just another newcomer to galactic civilization, struggling to catch up. Now he learned they were prisoners in an invisible cage. There's more, Ashira said quietly. There's a facility, Outpost Epsilon 7. It contains proof of everything the Concordat has done, but we need to reach it before they destroy the evidence. Marcus looked at his small, battered repair ship, then at the dragon coiled around it. Well, he said, starting up the engines, I guess we got somewhere to be. The journey to Outpost Epsilon 7 took 4 days through hidden routes that Ashirath remembered from before her captivity. Marcus used the time to upgrade the rusty nail systems with salvaged Valorian technology from the derelict ship. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. That seemed to be his specialty. You know this is probably a trap, Marcus said as they approached the coordinates. Almost certainly, Ashirath agreed. Her massive form drifted alongside the ship, scales reflecting starlight. But truth is worth the risk. They emerged from faster-than-light travel to find themselves facing a blockade. 12 warships from 6 different species formed a wall between them and the outpost. Marcus recognized Valorian cruisers, Crotha destroyers, and vessels from species he had only seen in databases. Attention, unidentified vessel. A voice crackled over the communications channel. You are in restricted space. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Marcus looked at the overwhelming force ahead of them. Any brilliant ideas? Yes, Ashira said simply. Don't die. She accelerated toward the blockade like a living missile. The warships opened fire immediately, filling space with energy beams and projectiles. Ashira twisted and rolled, moving with impossible grace for something so large. Her wings, vast and shimmering, created gravitational waves that bent the path of incoming fire. Marcus pushed the rusty nail forward, weaving through the chaos. His hands moved across the controls with practiced ease, making the small ship dance between explosions. Years of dodging space debris in the asteroid belt had prepared him for this, though he had never imagined using those skills in a space battle. They're not shooting to kill, Marcus realized, watching the weapons fire. They're trying to disable us. They fear what we might release from that outpost, Ashira replied. She inhaled deeply, and Marcus watched in amazement as her chest glowed with inner fire. When she exhaled, a stream of plasma hot enough to match a star's core erupted from her jaws. A Valorian cruiser's shields overloaded instantly, forcing it to retreat. The dragon's roar echoed through space itself, a sound that shouldn't exist in vacuum, but somehow did. The shockwave disrupted the sensors of nearby ships, creating a window of confusion. Marcus gunned the engines, pushing the rusty nail through the gap. Energy beams scorched past his hull, close enough that his shields flared with each near miss. Ashira stayed close, using her body to intercept shots that would have destroyed the fragile repair ship. 2 more ships incoming, Marcus warned, seeing them on his scanner. Ashira folded her wings and dove beneath the rusty nail. Coming up on the other side with claws extended, she raked across a Crotha destroyer's hull, her talons cutting through armor that was supposed to be impenetrable. The ship spun away, vending atmosphere. They were close now. The outpost was visible ahead, a dark sphere orbiting a dead moon. But 3 heavy cruisers moved to block their path, and these ships looked different, newer, more dangerous. Concordat Elite Guard, Ashira identified them. Their best. The elite ships attacked with coordinated precision. Their weapons' fire created a web of energy that was impossible to dodge. Marcus felt the rusty nail shudder as shots connected with his shields. Warning alarms screamed through the cockpit. We're not going to make it through, Marcus said, his voice tight. Yes, we will, Ashira growled. She positioned herself directly in front of the rusty nail and spread her wings wide. The incoming fire hit her instead, and Marcus watched in horror as energy beams scorch her scales. "No, you'll be killed." "I've survived worse," Ashira said, though he could hear pain in her telepathic voice. "And I heal fast. Keep going." Marcus pushed the throttle to maximum. The rusty nail shot forward, passing beneath Ashira's protective form. The dragon followed, smoke rising from burns across her body, but her eyes still blazed with determination. They crashed through the last line of defense and dove toward the outpost. Marcus brought the ship in hard, landing gear screeching as they touched down in a docking bay. Ashira landed beside them, her breathing heavy. "Are you okay?" Marcus asked, rushing out of the ship. "I'll survive," she said, and already the burns were beginning to heal, new scales growing over damaged ones. "But we don't have much time." They're regrouping for another assault. The outpost interior was dark and abandoned, but emergency power still flickered in the corridors. Marcus followed Ashira's guidance to a central archive chamber. Inside were data storage units containing petabytes of information. Marcus began accessing the files, and what he found made his blood run cold. Genetic studies showing human neuroplasticity was off the charts. Records of sabotage colony missions. Technology that aliens claimed to invent, but was actually reverse-engineered from ancient human artifacts. And most shocking of all, evidence that humans had reached space before 100,000 years ago, before something forced them back to the Stone Age. "They didn't just fear us," Marcus whispered. "They destroyed us once already. And my ancestors tried to stop them," Ashira said quietly. "That's why there are so few dragons left." Alarms blared throughout the facility. On the external cameras, Marcus saw a massive dreadnought arriving, larger than city. A communication channel opened automatically. "This is Concordat High Commander Vex," a cold voice announced. "You have one choice, human. Leave now with your dragon. Forget everything, and humanity can continue its controlled expansion. Or take that data, and we will initiate Protocol Omega, the complete eradication of your species. You have 2 minutes to decide." Marcus looked at the data storage, then at Ashira, then back at the massive dreadnought that could probably destroy a planet. "What do we do?" he asked. Marcus stared at the countdown timer on his screen. 1 minute and 30 seconds until Concordat dreadnought opened fire. His finger hovered over the data download button. One choice would save his life, but condemn humanity to continued slavery. The other might doom his entire species. "They're bluffing," Marcus said, though his voice shook. "They wouldn't really genocide us, would they?" "They did it once before," Ashira replied grimly. 100,000 years ago. They can do it again." Marcus looked at the dragon, then at the data files showing decades of lies and manipulation. He thought about every human who had died in sabotage colony ships, every conflict the Concordat had secretly created, every discovery they had hidden. His hands clenched into fists. "I've spent my whole life fixing things," Marcus said slowly. "Broken ships, damaged systems, problems everyone said couldn't be solved. And you know what I learned? Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is trust that the fix will work." He pressed the download button, but not to his ship's storage. Instead, he routed everything to the outpost's ancient but still functional communications array. "What are you doing?" Ashira asked, something they'll never expect. Marcus's fingers flew across the keyboard, bypassing security protocols with the same improvised logic he used to free Ashira. "I'm broadcasting everything. Not just to human colonies, to everyone, every species, every independent world, the whole damn galaxy. They'll destroy us before the transmission completes," Ashira warned. "Then we'd better talk fast." Marcus activated every camera in the facility and began recording. "My name is Marcus Chun. I'm a human mechanic from the Outer Rim, and I'm about to show you something that changes everything." He displayed the files on screen as he spoke, his words simple and direct. He showed the genetic studies proving human potential, the sabotage missions, the stolen technology, the evidence of humanity's previous extinction. every crime the Concordat had committed, laid bare for the galaxy to see. "We're not asking for war," Marcus said into the camera. "We're not demanding revenge. We're asking for something simple. Honesty. The right to exist without chains. And we're showing you that humans choose truth over comfortable lies, even when the truth might kill us." The transmission burst outward at light speed, carried by the outpost's powerful ray. Within seconds, it was being received by thousands of worlds. Within minutes, billions of people across hundreds of species were watching. On the dreadnought, Commander Vex's face appeared on Marcus's screen. The alien looked furious, but also uncertain. "You fool. You've doomed your species." "Maybe," Marcus replied calmly. "Or maybe I just saved it. Let me ask you something, Commander. How many of your crew knew about this? How many citizens of the Concordat knew what their leaders were doing in their name?" He could see the hesitation in Vex's expression. The transmission was reaching everyone now, including the dreadnought's crew. Across human space, something unprecedented began happening. Colony administrators started releasing their own suppressed files. Scientists shared discoveries they had been told to hide. Engineers revealed technologies that had been locked away. The truth was cascading, unstoppable now. But more importantly, messages started flooding in from non-human species. Independent worlds expressed outrage at the Concordat's actions. Species that had been manipulated themselves came forward with their own stories. Even within Concordat member states, populations demanded answers from their leaders. "You wanted to know what makes humans dangerous?" Marcus said to Commander Vex. "It's not strength. It's not weapons. It's that we're really, really stubborn about doing what's right, even when it's stupid." On the dreadnought, Marcus could see chaos through the video feed. Crew members were arguing. Some were refusing orders. The commander's authority was crumbling in real time. A new voice cut through the communications channel. "Commander Vex, this is Captain Thel of the Seleni Confederation. We are withdrawing from the Concordat blockade. We will not be party to genocide based on lies." Another voice joined. "This is the Crother Defense Fleet. We're standing down. Our people demand answers." One by one, ships began breaking formation. Some retreated. Others simply powered down their weapons. The unified front of the Concordat was shattering. Commander Vex stared at Marcus through the screen, and for a moment, the human thought he saw something like respect in those alien eyes. "You destroyed the stability of the galaxy," Vex said quietly. "No," Marcus replied. "I destroyed the comfortable lies. Stability built on oppression isn't real stability. It's just a cage nobody wants to admit they're in." The dreadnought's weapons remained silent. After a long moment, Vex disconnected the channel, and his ship jumped away into faster-than-light travel. Marcus collapsed into a chair, his whole body shaking with released tension. Did that actually work? "It defied all logical expectations," Ashira said, and he could hear wonder in her voice. "Which makes it the most human thing I've ever witnessed." Over the following weeks, the Concordat fractured completely. Some species left to form independent governments. Others demanded reform from within. Humanity, no longer operating under secret suppression, began sharing technology and cooperating with other species who had been similarly manipulated. Marcus and Ashira became unlikely ambassadors, helping to establish what they called a new accord, not a government, but a framework for honest cooperation between species. 6 months after the outpost incident, Marcus stood in his rebuilt repair station, watching the first joint human-dragon exploration vessel prepare to launch. They had named it Defiant Logic, and its mission was to explore regions of space the old Concordat had declared off-limits. Ashirith landed beside him, her scales gleaming in the starlight. "You know," Marcus said, "the Concordat spent thousands of years trying to figure out what makes humans dangerous. And what conclusion did you reach?" Ashirith asked, amusement in her telepathic voice. "They never considered that maybe our real superpower isn't conquering or fighting. It's knowing when to fix things instead of burning them down." The dragon's laughter rumbled through the station, warm and genuine. "Now that," she said, "Defy is all logic." Marcus grinned. "Yeah, but that's kind of our thing. Together, They watched the defiant logic jump into the unknown, carrying crews of multiple species into a future that was uncertain, but finally, honestly, there's a shape.